Hey guys, Tate here, and today we are at round number 6 of the WFO Promotions Hare Scramble series at Atkinson, Illinois. Now, I have not had the best luck here this year. If you'll remember, my first time here this year was just a ride, and I ended up breaking my front brake caliper, which ended my day early. And today, I added on to that bad luck because I unloaded my bike and I was getting ready to head over to the line. The problem was, my bike was not starting. And with that said, I want to give Nick Balzer a huge shout out for coming over and starting to kick my bike for me, and he ended up getting it started. So I really appreciate that. And he did that because he didn't want me dead for the start of the race, because this is the 4th of July weekend, and it was really hot the day of the race, and actually very humid. So I was wearing myself out trying to get my bike started, and it wasn't giving. But I ended up getting everything started. The thing is, with my bike today, it's dying when I'm not revving it. And I thought it was a blown gasket, but it was actually a jetting issue. But we'll get to that later in the video. But for now, let's take a look at the starts. The 98 to 200C class is off, and actually I was really excited today because my buddy Michael Snyder, better known as Minty, took his 1 year hiatus off and he is back racing today. So I was really excited to see him again, and hopefully he's at more races here in the future. Now, to our start, you'll see, well, you can't see. I think this is an issue that we had the last time I raced here, which was in 2017. Things got really dusty off the start here in this open field section, so couldn't really see, and I had to check up a little bit. So I'm behind people here, and people are behind me. I think I was in the middle of the pack off the start, but my goal for today was mainly just to finish because the conditions were absolutely brutal. But a secondary goal was to try and beat at least 25% of the class, because you'll remember my goals for the year, and I'll put them up here just so we can take a look at them. And anything that's green means it's a goal that I've accomplished so far. But I still need to achieve the goal, beat 25% of the class 3 races in a row. So that's a secondary goal for today, but I knew going in it was going to be a tough day just because of how hot everything was. Now, getting into the track here, the track was a ton of fun. And like I said when I rode here, I want to come back to the riding park in the next few weeks here and ride this track because they leave the arrows up based on what I've seen. So it would be fun just to pound out some laps here of an actual hare scramble course and try and get faster. But we come down into this kind of awkward section, and you can see there's mud, and I was not expecting mud, especially with how hot things have been the past few weeks, and there was really no rain. So mud was the last thing I was expecting. So as I said earlier, I'm having a strange issue with my bike where it won't idle. If I crack the throttle even just a little bit, then everything runs fine. But if I don't touch the throttle, then the bike will just die. Now, it may shock some of you to hear this, but I have not touched my carb since I bought my bike, and that was 5 years ago. So this, where my bike doesn't idle, it's clearly a carb issue, but I had no idea that it was because I don't really know much about dirt bike carburetors and how they work and issues that can come up from them, because obviously I haven't touched my carb pretty much ever. So I was actually pretty concerned with why my bike was just randomly dying. I originally thought it was a blown gasket, and that may have been causing the issue, but clearly dirt bike it runs fine when you give it throttle, but doesn't idle. That's a carb issue. And actually, it was a really easy fix once I figured it out. It was just a clogged main jet, and also I had to make a small adjustment to the idle screw on the carb there. And actually, the bike's running fine now. But this upload is a week late, and that's why, because I spent the week trying to figure out what was wrong with my bike, and it was just some carb issues. And actually, I learned a lot this past week, so I'm actually kind of happy that this issue came up. But speaking of this issue, here's the first time I stalled my bike on the downhill. I didn't crack the throttle enough. I was trying to keep it revved, but I lost my grip a little bit, and my bike died. And it was kind of hesitant to get started again, but I ended up getting it started, and we're back to racing. So now let's talk about the race itself. We're here in this muddy pit section, and we have this kind of awkward uphill here. There were two riders pulled over to the side. Also, there's a rider here that had their bike stalled, and actually I ended up stalling my bike too because of the issues I already explained. But I got my bike restarted on the first kick and then ended up getting up the hill with very little issue. Now you'll remember from my first ride here this year that I said this section of trail here, this fast, fun flowing section right next to the parking lot, was my favorite section of trail at this entire track. Now the problem is this section isn't very difficult, and it's supposed to be really fast. And you can see I'm kind of riding like a grandma at this point. The problem I had today was I just couldn't get comfortable with the track. I couldn't get in a groove. And it wasn't because of the bike issues I was having, and it also wasn't because of the heat. It was just I couldn't get comfortable. I really don't know what the issue was. Now you'll see this log crossing here, I let off the throttle, and that was enough for the bike to give out. Now, luckily, the bike's starting first kick for now at least, so I didn't lose too much time. It was just more or less a little annoying. But yeah, today really I did not ride well at all, and it was because I couldn't get comfortable. So finish up my second lap here, moving on to lap number 3. So on the left there, that was Lance. You may remember him from season 1, the first time I actually seriously rode the MX track at Lakeview OHV. He was there and he kind of helped me out. So it's been a few years since I talked to him, but he said hi to me there, and clearly some bike issues from what I could see. And now the lappers are coming through, and of course, the first guy to get around me is Steven Perkins, the Perkinator, the guy who gave me his front brake caliper so I could start riding again. So I think he's winning the race at this point, so he is absolutely hauling. I think he's racing the 58 class. And then I look behind me after this log, another guy's coming up on me, and it is Drew, or better known as Wingnut. He has his own YouTube channel, and here it is right here. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. His videos are absolutely hilarious, and actually this is only his second year racing, and he is consistently competing for wins on a week-to-week basis. So he got fast very quickly. So again, highly recommend going and checking him out. He makes awesome content. So we finish up lap number 3, and we are moving on to now lap number 4. And this part's a little frustrating. As I said when I stalled my bike earlier, it was starting up first kick, and now I stall my bike on this downhill because again I let off the throttle and that's when it dies. And now for whatever reason the bike doesn't want to start anymore. So I've been kicking for a few minutes, still no go. And I am getting really frustrated, really worn out. And now the heat is starting to get to me because when I'm just sitting here, that's when the heat's becoming a problem. But after, I'd say about 3 minutes of kicking, I finally get started again. And now I make it a priority. Do not stall my bike because that really wore on me. And now you can see I am riding like garbage, even worse than before, just because I wore myself out so much. And here, yep, still worn out, and I crash. I make a dumb mistake. There's a root that was sticking out here, and I was trying to avoid the rut because again things are muddy, and as I said, I was not expecting mud. But regardless, I crash and I was struggling to get unstuck. But there's Michael, and he falls over there. But Mikey or Minty, he has a ton of different nicknames. He was nice enough to pull over for me, and he was racing the 98 to 200C class after a year hiatus. Um, and he checked if I was okay, and he was actually going to help me get unstuck. But by the time he walked all the way over to me, I got myself out of the mess I put myself into. But Mike, thanks for pulling over for me. I'm sorry it was for nothing, but uh, it's much appreciated regardless. So this is kind of like a drop everything you're doing situation. That guy did not look okay, and it took me a minute to ask him if he was okay, just because I was trying to figure out what was going on. I asked him if he's okay. He shook his head that he was not okay, so I got off the trail and then immediately came over to get some help. And then I got back on the trail again, started racing, but the quads came over to give the guy a hand. Hopefully he's okay. Maybe heat exhaustion from what I could see. He wasn't really holding any of his ligaments or anything. He was just on the ground. So again, it was a hot day, so maybe he was just really dehydrated or something. But regardless, someone got over to him. He got the help he needed, and I moved on with my race. And I ended up finishing, and this was the frustrating part for me. Finish was not very good. I got 21st out of 25, so not really achieving my goal of beating 25% of the class today. There are a lot of things that really messed with my day, but excuses aside, I did not ride to my expectations. So maybe here this next weekend, I might end up skipping the race. I think the race is at Byron this weekend. And again, maybe we'll end up skipping that one just to go ride and work out some of the kinks I've been having the past few weeks. But regardless, thank you all for watching and thank you for your support. And I will see you all on the next video.